When we think about regionalism today, the kind of regionalism that we want to forge today cannot be the same regionalism of the 50s or 60s. We are living in a technological era, and I think to enrich the integration experience, one area that we must delve into is how do we use technology, do we use digital currency.
Of this documentary, Reorienting the Region, Building on Blockchain for Caribbean Integration and Development, our use of the word reorient is very deliberate. It is intended to connote change not only within the region but beyond it. Depending on one's perspective, the Caribbean is connected or divided by the Caribbean Sea. It includes mainland territories such as Belize and Guyana, as well as archipelago or micro-unions of islands like the Bahamas and St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
The Caribbean, in my view, is also a microcosm of the wider world because, first of all, we have such a blend of ethnicities here, but we also have a unique combination of so many larger geopolitical issues that come to play here in the Caribbean.
When we think about countries in the global south, most of them were colonized. Most of them have had a long search for freedom, for true development, for true meaning. And it's difficult for any one country to go it alone, to do it alone. So regional integration, as problematic as it is, offers a mechanism whereby developing countries in particular can pool resources, can engage in collective diplomacy, can enlarge their markets and trade among themselves. So in fact, they can better withstand the forces, because we live in a capitalist world and there is uneven development. We have winners, we have losers, and the world has not been kind to developing countries. And one way in which such countries can ensure that the people within these countries have a better quality of life, have greater possibilities and opportunities for life chances, is to come together.
In this context, the imperative to integrate becomes extremely important given the opportunity it presents for the pooling of resources, technical, financial, human, and otherwise.
When CARICOM was set up at the Treaty of Tragoramas nearly 50 years ago, it was in recognition of the fact that regional economic integration and regional cooperation amongst these independent countries was critical to their development. And in fact, that is true. And that was the same motivation that was behind the idea of a Caribbean single market and economy, is that we needed deeper economic integration in order for these islands and territories to realize their economic potential. The problem is that much of the general CARICOM agenda, and specifically the mechanisms to have a Caribbean single market and economy, have actually just not been implemented. So as important as it is, and as much as it was on the agenda, it has not been implemented. And so the region has largely failed to realize its economic potential and the economic growth of which we are capable because of a failure of implementation.
Caribbean single market and economy, well, actually what we have currently is the Caribbean single market. We don't yet have the E in the CSME. And I think while we have a treaty and you have the right of establishment, if someone wants to leave Barbados to go to St. Kitts to set up a business, legally he or she can do that. We have several categories where people can move. So legally, St. John's Antigua, St. John Barbados, St. John's Grenada is one single market by law. How then do you get Caribbean people to work that? How do you get Caribbean firms to operationalize that? And I think that there are some cultural issues that we have to work through. There are issues with respect to the currency that we have to work through. So whereas we have the legal framework in place, you have administrative and bureaucratic issues that we have to work through. It must start, in my view, with a big idea of what is the Caribbean. How do we self-define? And if we understand that 400 years of collective struggle must mean more than 50 years of independence, then the CSME becomes easier to work.